I didn't mean to go off into a rant. I was just talking to one of my producers, one of the radio guys, Rob Dew, about how they, and his wife's in education, how they tried for months to get the exemption form. And they would laugh and say it doesn't exist. Up until a month ago, you could always just print it off online. Now I guess they make you get one from them. They're real bastards. But going back to Alan Watt before we continue with calls, yeah, there's always these little ring around the rosy games. It's in the Dallas Morning News. They're kicking kids out if they don't take the regular shot, seasonal flu, and the new one. I mean, I showed Dallas Morning News yesterday. Austin's announcing it, but there's no law. They're saying you don't have to, but you have to. And then you say, well, I want an exemption form, and they laugh at you and say, you don't have to, honey. I mean, this is just so sick. And these locals, they always get like a little piggy face, a little demonic smile. What is that programming where they revel in abusing people? They revel in lying.
Yeah, what you've got really is what has been said about the Soviet system and the hero worship of the man at the top. The same with the Nazi regime in Germany. What they found was that all the officers down below are sadomasochists. And this is how power works. It's a sadomasochistic thing that attracts psychopathic types into those positions. In fact, they're generally the only ones who go into them. And they worship the person above them with power, and they despise the person beneath them who has less power than themselves. That's how simply it works with sadomasochism. And you'll always have this strange sadomasochistic authoritarianism when you get into politics and right down to local politics even. Any authority. This is the very thing that Carl Jung warned the public about back in the 50s. He talked about the Iron Curtain across Germany, but he also said, I see an iron curtain of massive bureaucracies building up with governmental agencies, stifling and strangling the freedom of the whole planet. He understood what was coming down the pike back then. Many of his generation did, in fact, because they were involved in meeting high-level people. And he knew that the world we're bringing in would be one of tyranny by force. And that's where you've got one of the criteria of tyranny is when you're forced into a position by authorities without any escape routes. In other words, you have no choice. That is tyranny, when you have no choice in any situation.
Well, you're absolutely right. Since they don't have a choice, they learn to love it and love to defend it. And so when you say, hey, the banks just stole $23.7 trillion, we got to pay it back with interest,
yep.
They just laugh and will say, I'm part of the power structure.
Yep.
And it's almost like a 5-year-old dressing up like they're Luke Skywalker, or dressing up like they're, some hero.
Yeah.
That it's like the public are eternal children, and they imagine things. They're delusional. And
yeah.
I never had a view of myself as something special or wonderful or good. I'm just a person that has my instincts intact. And, having a bunch of psychos writing books about how they're killing me with vaccines and stuff in the water, and then I can see the evidence they're doing it. I mean, if they write hundreds of books about how they're killing us and how it's a scientific dictatorship, wouldn't there be something wrong with me if I didn't, as a red-blooded male, not stand up for my species against a power-tripping group that's playing God?
Absolutely. And part of the key of obedience, as I say, Stanford and other universities are into these experiments all the time around obedience, or the CIA involved with them, obviously. And what they find is with the more power they accumulate in any agency, in this sadomasochistic power structure, they begin to despise the ordinary people who begin to cow under authority. The more the people cow under authority, the more they're despised, is almost weaklings, and eventually hated by those in power. I've always said it's like a farmer breaking the legs of a cow. It falls to the ground, then he starts kicking it because it can't get up. That's the very system that's in play today with the sadomasochistic total power structure that's set up. This is the hell on earth they're bringing in, and it's up to us to fight it utterly with every means that we have.
Well, I think one of the most effective ways to attack it is to just show people the matrix of false reality and reach out to police, military, bureaucrats and go, your little cousin just died of cancer at 22. That's not normal. Here's some statistics. Do you know what's in the water? Do you know what's in the shots? Here's AP, admitting they're giving everyone polio with the polio vaccine. And you're not going to listen now because you have defenses up. But deep down in your instincts, you know I'm telling you the truth. You're being manipulated. And I found that 6 months down the road, a year down the road, they then wake up. And just showing them how they're not in the power structure like they think they are, how they're being attacked as well.
And what's interesting, too, is this New World Order is to go through a series of changes, including the riot phase for 30-odd years as they bring down the food supply, and then the United Nations takes over the distribution of food to all the different regions, as they call these sections of the world. And they say in their own writings in the United Nations that they'll gradually reduce this ration to each area every year, and it's up to you to bring your population down to accommodate and use the resources that are given to you. This is all their plan, and this is hell on earth they're bringing in step by step, and of course the reduction of population via mass. Literally, we're being killed off by inoculations, and they know this at the top.
And that's all stated, and they all brag about it.
Yeah.
And you'll tell some mom, and she'll arrogantly laugh at you. Take her kid who already looks like a zombie, and just shoot them up with some more, and then they'll look at you with pleasure. You crazy nut! It doesn't matter if you just quoted State Department Memorandum 200.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're quoting UN documents. It doesn't matter. They don't care. And then when their kid dies, they'll wear a little cancer ribbon and cry, and it's like a celebrity thing. Oh, your kid died too. Ooh, ooh. You know, because it's all about euthanizing everybody. That's what this is all about.
It is euthanasia, and it's a bacterial warfare. It's viral warfare. It's biowarfare, carefully designed. And as I say, and all this stuff has been released recently from the internal meetings at the World Health Organization. They admit that all of these particles of DNA and RNA and so on recombine within the body, infect the cells of the person, and cause cancers down the road. They understand this.
Well, they grow it in the exact type of monkeys and fetal tissue that have the cancer virus that's most deadly in it.
Well, actually, they've stated now that they're actually using, especially for this new swine flu, rather than use the eggs, chicken eggs, and so on for doing so, which also contains thousands of foreign viruses.
They're using cancer virus instead of the dead baby retinas or the green monkey kidneys or the other growth mediums. You're right. They are using cancer virus.
That's what they say, because the cancer virus is a survivor, so they're using that as an adjuvant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't that sweet? I'm going to move to calls quickly now. Mark in Oregon, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex and Alan. Honor to speak with you, and thank you for your great information. Thank you for your great wisdom, even. Alex, on Monday's show that you had mentioned that there were 10 million doses of the flu mist being sent out into the country on Monday. They will have arrived, or probably have arrived at their destination by now. I'm sure many of destinations that it's arriving to are the Walmart stores.
Well, let me be clear. They said last Friday that 200,000 were going to Tennessee, Indiana, and Texas, and that then by the end of the next week, 10 million more would start flowing. And then they admit there's been no testing of the H1N1, and that they're making people sign secrecy forms and waiving their rights when they take the nasal.
Yes. You also reported, Alex, the Mayo Clinic has come out and said that the flu mist will be much more contagious to other people. It takes 10 to 20 days, as I understand it at this point, for the actual symptoms to manifest in someone who has received an injected or a flu mist vaccination. Now, I think the time clock has already started on this, and that the actual mass murder genocide that this operation consists of, and it is not a drill, absolutely not a drill. It's set in motion now as to where it's going to follow through with the actual sickness itself, and people are going to become so sick and weak that they're going to accept martial law. And I think this is the first stage of the operation.
Well, I know this. We're going to find out by the end of October, early November, whether it's meant to mutate and really be deadly, or if this is just setting the precedent for us to go under World Health Organization rules and to set the precedent to take the shots as they've stated. We know it's at least that bad. Alan Watt, what do you think's going on?
It's true. I think it fulfills both purposes. you become a human incubator when you take on this stuff. You are now the new egg, if you like. You're the new reactors. It breeds within you. And they admit you shed the virus to all those around you. There's no doubt about that. And what's interesting to me is putting this kind of thing into a mist form. This supposed virus would kill, primarily by attacking the respiratory system, the nasal passages and bronchial tubes in the lungs. So they're putting it right into the very areas, and they admit that the adjuvants are designed to attract leukocytes and phagocytes to attack the stuff right into the lung area, which might cause you to die with the.
Yeah, for those that don't know, that's the autoimmune storm of how the 1918 killed tens of millions. It's the autoimmune response to the virus that kills you in hours with fluid. Yep. And now we're getting reports they're covering it up, that people are taking it and collapsing. And